All right, ringing the holiday season with a double dip of NFL football on NBC and Peacock this weekend. It all kicks off Saturday at noon Eastern as we lead you up to kickoff between the Texans and the Chiefs. Then on Sunday night, Baker Mayfield and the Bucs travel to Dallas for a date with the Cowboys.
Baker, Stroud, Mahomes, Micah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why quarterbacks are important because,
That's why the rule book is the way it is.
That's fine. I'm not sure Cooper Rush is a quarterback.
He's been fine.
No, he hasn't. They all watch Monday Night Football.
he lit up the Panthers last week.
What's on Tap is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here's the matchups with the highest point totals going into Week 16. Sundays are easy to enjoy when they are full of football, and the fridge is filled with beer. Here are the games we're locking in on. The highest point totals of the week, starting with that Sunday Night Football matchup. The Bucs are favored by 4 points in their trip to Dallas as we take a look at Matthew's top players for the game. More importantly, the over-under is set at 48 points. So Matthew, that Bucs backfield, can you start both Bucky Irving and Rachaad White?
I think you can. Obviously, it depends on the size of your league and who else you have, but you see it there. I have Bucky Irving at running back 16, and I have Rachaad White as a mid-tier flex. He's my running back 25. Let's talk about Bucky for a second here. In 6 of his last 8 healthy games, he's averaging over 15 fantasy points per game, averaging 95 yards from scrimmage in that, and also 5.6 yards per carry. He's kind of the anti-Gus Edwards, actually. He has been very, very effective. This offense has been moving the ball, and Bucky Irving is their lead guy. Meanwhile, Rachaad White, we talk about PPR scam artists. Rachaad White's kind of been a touchdown scam artist because it's been really kind of floated up by touchdowns. Since he returned in Week 7, he's the 9th best running back in fantasy. Now, he's got 9 total touchdowns in those 8 games, 3 rushing, 6 receiving, so they're using him in the receiving game, much as he was last year. But I do think he's got a better than average shot of getting into the end zone. They are using him enough that he's worthwhile as a flex. I prefer Irving to White, but I do think both in this game environment with the way the Buccaneers offense is rolling, I'm in on both.
Yep, team total of 26.5, so should be plenty of opportunity for both these guys to score.
Our next one, Lions, Bears, same over-under, 48. Lions are favored by 6.5 points. Could be an interesting game script here. Jay, Jameson Williams is a top 30 wide receiver for Matthew, sneaking right in there. Although here I have him as wide receiver 33, Matthew, so maybe we've had a little change in rankings.
Yeah,
well,
I think these graphics were built before the Thursday night game. What we do is we remove players from the Thursday night game, and they all move up. So he is currently wide receiver 29. He started the week as wide receiver 33.
So the question still stands, Jay. Do you start him?
I think it depends how much you want to lean into variance and whether you're an underdog in your matchup. I think that he's a viable flex guy, wide receiver 3. This Bears defense, it kind of reminds me of the Jets at the end of last year with their pass defense. They totally gave up in that game against Flacco, much to my chagrin. But I do think that with how their defense is struggling, with the fact that Jameson Williams, he's so dependent on the deep ball, and the Bears have been giving up a lot of deep passes, I do think he is a good high variance option if you're an underdog in your matchup.
Bottom 5 in yards and receptions allowed on deep passes. Connor, is it a scheme thing with the Bears defense? Are they just totally banged up? Like, what are you seeing there? Because I know a lot of people are wondering, after the huge game last week, how do I bench Jared Goff? But on the other hand, he's on the road at Chicago, outdoors.
Tough place to play. But I think the problem is they're on the field a lot, too. Yeah. Not only have they dealt with some injuries, but they're on the field a ton. There's a lot of quick series for the Bears offense. And then they get to the second half, and they kind of seem to figure it out. But the first half has been so tough that the dam breaks eventually. Yeah. Eventually, you are on the field so much that you're going to get hit with the big play. And I do think they've had some problems on the back end. Obviously, Jalen Johnson's one of the best corners in football, but he's one man. So they've figured out different ways to attack them. And I don't think their pass rush has been great, which is a big problem on the back end, too. They really need another edge rush threat. So it's a litany of issues for the Bears right now.
Meanwhile, by the way, the Bears, given how beat up the Lions defense is, you could see the Bears moving the ball here. And again, it's why the total is 48 in this one. You could see some back and forth between the two teams.
Our last game, guys, the Cardinals are 4.5-point favorites at Carolina. The over-under is similar to the first two. This is at 47. So coming off a disappointing week for MHJ, Matthew Marvin Harrison Jr., you still start him?
Look, again, I think it's a wide receiver 3, but as you see the ranks there on your screen. But, boy, it makes you a little bit nervous, right? Here's some positives. He's had multiple end zone targets now in 3 straight games. And the Panthers are a great matchup. They've allowed 25 or more fantasy points to a wide receiver in 2 of their last 3. And they've given up at least 13.7 to a wide receiver in 4 straight. He's the most likely guy to get there. But since week 5, he's wide receiver 53. If you're in the fantasy playoffs, it's despite Marvin Harrison Jr., not because of it. You've likely found some other options.
Yeah. The rundown here says, are you still rolling with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Rolling is very aggressive. It's like he used to kind of sauntering with Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think that, look.
Starting and stopping.
Yes. Yeah. I think that for the most part, again, he's a viable flex guy, and he's kind of, it's a different type of player, but similar calculation to Jameson Williams, where he has a lot of upside. Like, would it shock anyone if Marvin Harrison Jr. had 2 touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers? Not really. Not. Would it shock anyone, though, if he was 4 for 34 with no touchdowns? So again, very high variance.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.